Fascinating World, Episode 3, yeah! Welcome back to Fascinating World. I'm Jeff Rogers. So, I do crazy things like this so that when I actually do build the opening graphics for the show, it'll be this huge leap in quality, and everyone will be like, wow, it's amazing now! But we're starting with the basic primitive stuff, so that's what you get for today. All right, so here it is, the creed that I've been working on. Let's say this together. I'll put the words down at the bottom so that we can all say this together. I want you to say it out loud with me. I'll put the words at the bottom so you can read along, but say it out loud with me. Find a private place if you're in public and you don't want to say this out loud, or say it in public, you know, get people interested in the channel. I would appreciate it. All right, here we go. We live in a fascinating world, and we are a part of it. The world is filled with so many amazing and awe-inspiring things, but we can miss them if we don't look for them. By searching for the good and the beautiful, the exciting and the inspiring things going on in the world, we can reshape the lens through which we see the world itself, and we can learn to live in a sense of wonder and awe over this incredible world we live in. We live in a fascinating world, and we are a part of it. Today we resolve to see the wonder in being alive, and we commit to adding to it wherever we can. So there you go. I think that's getting there. Let me know in the comments section what you think. I think this gives us a good framework for what I want to do here and what I want this channel to be all about. So today I just want to share with you the categories that I tend to go to for my sense of wonder and awe, and yes, fascination with the world. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive into where my sense of fascination actually comes from, I think. So first off, here's some of the categories I think we're going to be visiting a lot on this channel. We're definitely going to be talking about science, advancements in medicine and health, gene therapy and CRISPR technology, which allows for gene editing. I find these incredibly fascinating areas right now. Cellular biology also has a bunch of amazing things in it. I'm sure we'll find all other kinds of things under the heading of science, not just medical and health, but just all over science for sure. Tech, closely related. I mentioned last week the Apple Vision Pro coming out. AI is a huge subject right now. Neuralink, SpaceX, Tesla, the Boring Company, all of the Elon Musk companies basically, and we'll get into a lot of other tech stuff as well. I mentioned movies, all the great movies and TV shows, the old and the new, little Game of Thrones nod there. There's too many examples to list here, but what's always fascinating to me is how stories can impact all of us in such a profound way. And what is it that makes one movie or show an international hit while others just don't resonate? Nature. Obviously, there's a lot of things just going on out in nature in the world, and things that are just amazing and incredible to observe. Philosophy and logic, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And lastly, politics and religion, which is definitely fascinating to me. I don't know how much we're going to end up spending talking about that here on this channel. I might start a separate channel where we talk about that, just because that tends to be a subject that a lot of people get riled up on, no matter what position you take. And if you want to just, you know, keep it on the neutral side, I'm going to try and do that here. That's probably going to be impossible at some point, but as much as I can, I'm going to try and do that here. So today I was thinking about a principle that I often think about, and that is this idea of the counterintuitive nature of life. There's so many things, both in our physical world and in our internal worlds, that are counterintuitive. And by that I mean they're different or much more nuanced than what we first might assume them to be. So a classic example that comes to mind immediately is the idea of the world being flat. Now, I know there are people today that still believe that the world is flat, but for the rest of us, if you walk outside and just look right now, you could very easily assume that that's the correct conclusion, that the world is flat. If you look at the ocean and just look out to the horizon, pretty much flat. In fact, people believed this for thousands and thousands of years before Greek philosophers posited it in the 5th century BC. And then I think Greek astronomers established the roughly spherical shape of the Earth by the 3rd century BC. Now, going even further than that, we all understand the Earth revolves around the sun. But that's also not what you would quote unquote observe if you just go out inside and look. It looks like the sun revolves around the earth. And again, that's something that was believed to be true for thousands and thousands of years. Again, another Greek philosopher who suggested it in 2030 BC, but it still took until Galileo in 1610, so almost 2,000 more years, before they really started to prove it. And even then, the observed belief that the sun revolved around the earth was fiercely defended for a long time after that. So our intuitive observations die hard. So what can we learn from this history lesson? Well, for me, the takeaway, and what I always find is interesting about all subjects, is to never assume that your perspective is the one objectively true until you've had the opportunity to consider all the other viewpoints. There's this great meme of two people looking down at a number that's been placed on the floor, and it's either a 6 or a 9, but it could be either depending on its intended orientation. Now, technically, the only way to know which number this is to ask the person who put it there, or to look for some other surrounding environmental clue that suggests its true orientation. But the point being here is that the two observers, they're both correct in their assessment of the number as it appears to them, but there's a higher truth that can be found only through additional observation and investigation. And I think this principle may be at the core of my fascination with the world. There are so many things that are counterintuitive, and I'm always amazed to learn about them. Going back to the observations about the nature of the Earth and its place in the universe, I saw this really cool video that displaced, yet again, my understanding of the solar system. When I was in school growing up, back in the dinosaur age, I always had seen a model that looks like this: the planets rotating around the sun. Now, this model is true in that the planets do revolve around the sun, but what it does not take into account is that the sun is also moving through space. So this is actually a more accurate visualization of what our solar system looks like. Now, the principle I like to mention here is that it's always important to remember there are probably even more accurate visualizations than this one that might take into account, for example, our position in the galaxy and how our solar system moves through it. That's not shown here. It's just showing that our sun is in motion as well as the planets orbiting around it. And this, I think, is part of the key to living in awe and wonder, to constantly be thinking, I wonder what else there is to this. You know, no matter the subject, it's rare that the answer is nothing. That's all there is. In just about any subject, there's an outer boundary of our understanding. We understand something to a certain degree, and then things get a little fuzzy. We're always learning new things, but most of the time, those new things open doors to a whole new host of questions. The idea that we're approaching a unified understanding of the world in which we live is, okay, from my understanding and perspective, I want to qualify my position here using the principles I just explained. The idea that we're getting close to understanding how it all fits together is sort of detached from reality in my view. But, you know, history and time will tell. All right, well, I think that's enough for today's episode. Most of our shows aren't going to be these deep dives into philosophy like this, but I think it's worth it to explain the underpinning of where my commitment to finding the fascinating comes from. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Okay, after show note here, this week's episode is the first one that required actual editing, which means that I couldn't just record it the day before and upload it for the next day. I wrote and shot this on Wednesday. I think it's almost midnight right now. I'm going to be editing it on Thursday and then adding the B-roll and subtitles, and then I'll upload it, the final version, for Friday morning. So all that to say, the timeline on my end just got shorter than a week because I need to start working on these probably on the 4th or 5th day before the next show, so I can be ready to put up at the end of the week. So this is going to be some work. I really like it and I enjoy it, but it's going to be some work if I'm going to do this every week. So if you like this stuff, let me know in the comments and share this with people you think might be interested in this type of content. This type of content, meaning the stuff that's going to be coming in the next couple of episodes. We're going to start really getting into what I think the weekly download from me is going to be every time. But anyway, thanks in advance, and we'll see you next time.